China, a land where time seems to have forgotten the rhythm of modernity. In this place, the journey does not begin in search of dazzling cities, but to touch the soul of an ancient civilization. Here, mountains that have stood for thousands of years rise like silent guardians, watching over the dreams of the ancestors. This is an unseen China filled with mystery, where the boundary between reality and myth becomes thinner than ever. You will not simply see the China shown in typical travel promotions. This is another world, where hiderplanet takes you into a silence and authenticity so powerful that it leaves you in awe. The birth of Chinese civilization cannot be separated from the unique geography of this land. Two great rivers, the Yellow River and the Yangtze River, nourished the earliest communities thousands of years ago. Across the fertile alluvial plains, people began to farm, build villages, and gradually form ancient cultural centers. The Yellow River is often called the cradle of Chinese civilization, within the story of unseen China. This river carries enormous amounts of sediment from the Tibetan Plateau, creating fertile lands where early cultures emerged. From those early agricultural communities, society gradually evolved into the first dynasties in recorded history. China is the second most populous country after India, with a population of more than 1.4 billion people, representing about 17% of the world's population. It shares land borders with 14 countries and covers an area of 9.6 million square kilometers, making it the third largest country in the world by land area. A journey through China feels like stepping into a living chronicle of history. Every mountain, every river, and every ancient structure carries a story about people, belief, and time. It is a land where nature and history blend together, where the past continues to live within the present. If nature shaped the physical form of China, it was the people and their culture that shaped the soul of this civilization. Over more than 5,000 years of history, the Chinese people have built a profound cultural system and a long-standing tradition of harmony. What makes Chinese culture truly remarkable is not only its great age, but also its ability to adapt while preserving its identity through countless eras. For many centuries, the Chinese way of life has been deeply influenced by three major philosophies: Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Each of these traditions offers a different perspective on the world and on humanity's place within the universe. Concepts such as respect for family, filial piety toward parents, and responsibility to the community have become essential moral values. Across generations, Chinese families have passed down these principles as an inseparable part of everyday life. In addition, monasteries built on sacred mountains have long served as places where people seek silence, reflection, and enlightenment. Within the ancient corridors of these temples, one can sense a peaceful atmosphere where time itself seems to slow down. Yet Chinese culture does not exist only within philosophy and religion. To understand this country more deeply, we will journey through some of its remarkable places and explore the stories that shaped it. When discussing the greatest man-made structures, the Great Wall of China almost always comes to mind first. It is not just an ancient wall. This massive structure stretches for thousands of kilometers across northern China. My journey to the Great Wall usually begins in the northern outskirts of Beijing. As I leave the modern city behind, with its towering skyscrapers and busy traffic, the landscape gradually begins to change. Narrow roads wind through old villages, across open fields, and along low mountains covered in green trees. The closer I get to the wall, the quieter the air becomes, as if this place still holds the breath of history. When I step onto the first stone stairs, the first feeling is often pure awe. Every step is a reminder that this structure was built under incredibly harsh conditions. As I continue walking along the ancient walls, I begin to understand the true scale of this monument. The wall is wide enough for several people to walk side by side. In some sections, horse-drawn carts once traveled along the top. Millions of workers, soldiers, and prisoners took part in building the Great Wall over many centuries. They worked under brutal conditions on steep mountain slopes and in the severe weather of northern China. Many of them never returned home. Leaving behind the ancient stone walls of the Great Wall, our journey through China continues toward a completely different landscape. If the Great Wall represents power and history, Tianmen Mountain offers something far more mysterious and almost surreal. Rising more than 1,500 meters above sea level, it has long been considered one of the most breathtaking natural landscapes in China. My journey begins in the center of Zhangye city. From here, visitors step onto the world's longest cable car route, stretching nearly 8 kilometers. As the cabin slowly lifts off the ground, the city begins to shrink below, and an endless panorama of towering mountains unfolds ahead. The cable car gently carries travelers across lush green forests, deep valleys, and dramatic vertical cliffs. But even after reaching near the summit, the journey is not over. You must continue along a pathway of 999 stone steps that lead toward the famous Gate of Heaven. These steps climb directly toward a massive natural stone arch, believed to be a symbolic connection between humanity and the sky. Standing beneath Tianmen Cave, the enormous natural arch makes you instantly feel how small humans truly are compared to nature. From this point, it becomes easy to understand why the landscapes of Zhangye have inspired so many fantastical scenes in cinema. What about you? Have you ever visited this place? Let us know in the comments below so hiderplanet can hear your story. After leaving the towering cliffs of Tianmen Mountain behind, the journey of exploring China led me to a place that felt entirely different. This is not just a single mountain, but a vast mountain range made up of 5 main peaks. Each peak has a relatively flat summit, creating the impression of small plateaus suspended high in the sky. For a very long time, it has been considered one of the 4 most important sacred Buddhist mountains in China. In Buddhist tradition, this place is believed to be the sacred land associated with Manjushri Bodhisattva, the symbol of wisdom and enlightenment. The air here remains cool throughout the year, very different from many other regions of China. In summer, when many places across the country are experiencing intense heat, Mount Wutai still maintains a pleasant climate thanks to its highest peak rising above 3,000 meters. Today, Mount Wutai is home to more than 50 Buddhist temples and monasteries, many of which have existed for over 1,000 years. Throughout history, this place has been an important center of religious practice, attracting monks, scholars, and devotees from across Asia. Its uniqueness lies not only in its architecture, but also in its very own spiritual atmosphere amidst unseen China. For visitors, the journey up the mountain is not just a trip, but a spiritual journey. Not because of massive structures or dramatic scenery, but because of the quiet and timeless atmosphere that has endured for thousands of years. After spending 3 days at Mount Wutai, I decided not to let the journey end there, so I continued on to Mount Huashan. Located in Shanxi province, this is one of the 5 sacred mountains of Taoism with a spiritual history spanning over 2,000 years. Unlike many other vast mountain ranges, Huashan stands out, with its nearly vertical cliffs making the entire mountain look like giant swords. Walk with me through these valleys and along the cliffs, and you will realize that life in the mountains has never been just about the scenery. The journey begins at the foot of the mountain early in the morning, with stone steps winding through ancient pine forests. The higher we go, the steeper and narrower the path becomes. Ancient stone steps are carved directly into the mountain wall, some sections almost completely vertical. Iron chains anchored into the rock centuries ago help climbers maintain their balance. Standing here, I finally understand why this route is considered one of the most dangerous hiking trails in the world. Below lies a chasm, hundreds of meters deep. Stepping onto these planks, one can clearly feel the strong mountain wind and the vast expanse below. Today, visitors must wear safety harnesses to cross this section, and every step brings a mix of fear and excitement. What about you? What do you think of this path? And would you dare to walk across it? After the sheer cliffs and perilous paths of Mount Huashan, the journey led me to a completely different landscape. From above, the lake looks like a ribbon of turquoise silk laid across a vast valley embraced by the Tianmen Mountains to the west. The scenery here carries a gentle beauty, a striking contrast to the harsh, rugged mountains of northern China. From the old town, just a few kilometers away, the vast surface of the lake suddenly opens before your eyes in the heart of unseen China. Standing by the shore, the first thing that captures your attention is the deep stillness of this place. This is not only a beautiful natural landscape, it is also the cultural and daily life center of the Bai people. For generations, the Bai community has lived around the lake, building small villages along the water and developing their own unique cultural traditions. Their houses are often built with white walls and grey tiled roofs, decorated with vibrant murals painted across the exterior walls. Along the lake shore, narrow paths weave through ancient villages and wide open fields. You can cycle around the lake, stopping at lakeside villages to enjoy tea or taste local dishes. Today, even as tourism has grown rapidly in Dali, Erhai Lake has preserved much of its natural charm. Ancient villages, lakeside roads, and green fields remain like pieces of a living landscape painting. When talking about China, how can one not mention Fanjingshan? And my journey continues. At an altitude of over 2,500 meters, Fanjingshan is frequently shrouded in fog, making the entire area look like an island floating in the sky. This area is part of a national nature reserve, preserving a rare ancient ecosystem. Dense forests with centuries-old trees cover the mountain slopes, creating a rich habitat for many rare animal species. Believe it or not, the unique shape of the mountain and the structures located on its summit are remarkable. From afar, one can see a massive rock formation rising straight up into the sky, divided into two distinct peaks, each topped with a small temple. To reach it, one must climb thousands of stone steps along the cliff face. path gradually narrows and slopes as you approach the summit, with ancient stone steps carved directly into the mountainside, winding and curving. As you ascend higher, the surrounding landscape begins to change, the dense forests below gradually disappearing into the mist. On clear days, the mountain peaks emerge from the white clouds, creating the feeling of standing in another world. Furthermore, a narrow staircase built around a vertical rock formation leads you to two temples located at the summit. The scenery here is both majestic and mysterious. As the clouds drift below, the two small temples seem to float in the sky. While Fanjingshan is steeped in spirituality and legend, Siguniang Mountain opens up a world of snow-capped peaks and vast valleys. The name Siguniang means four girls. According to legend, the four highest peaks of this mountain range represent four beautiful sisters. The highest peak is considered the eldest sister, standing silently against the sky like a guardian of this land. The journey to Siguniang usually begins in Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province. From there, the road gradually leads visitors away from the bustling urban areas into the vast mountainous regions. The landscape changes rapidly as mountain ranges begin to appear in the distance, covered with pine forests and grasslands. As you venture deeper into the area, vast valleys begin to unfold, most notably Changping Valley, a long and verdant valley. In spring and summer, it becomes vibrant with wildflowers blooming throughout the valley amidst unseen China. Unlike many other crowded tourist areas, it has largely retained its pristine natural beauty. One of the most impressive moments at Siguniang Mountain is the sunrise over the peaks. As the sun begins to rise, its golden light illuminates the snow-capped peaks, causing them to gradually turn pink and orange. I recommend that simply standing in the vast valleys and gazing up at the snow-capped peaks is enough to appreciate the beauty of this place. At the end of my trip, I chose Zhangye Danxia as my destination, a place boasting some of the world's most unique geological landscapes. Here, the rock formations appear in vibrant colors such as red, yellow, orange, and blue. These layers of color are formed from mineral deposits, accumulated over hundreds of millions of years, uplifted by tectonic activity of the Earth's crust. Geologists believe these colors are formed from layers of mineral deposits that accumulated over hundreds of millions of years. Then wind, rain, and time continued to erode them, creating mountain ranges with soft shapes and vibrant colors. Early morning is the best time to admire the scenery, as the first rays of sunlight illuminate the rock formations, making their colors more vivid than ever. The red and orange hues begin to blaze, while the yellow and brown layers reflect the light more gently. What makes this place special is that no two viewpoints are exactly alike. As you move from one observation point to another, the shape and color of the mountain ranges seem to change constantly. For years, Zhangye Danxia has been a source of inspiration for photographers, scientists, and nature lovers from around the world. Not because of its magnificent man-made structures, but because it showcases the creative power of nature. But perhaps the most special thing about this journey is realizing that China is not just a country, it is a vast world where a story unfolds. When discussing the greatest man-made structures, the Great Wall of China almost always comes to mind first. It is not just an ancient wall. This massive structure stretches for thousands of kilometers across northern China. My journey to the Great Wall usually begins in the northern outskirts of Beijing. As I leave the modern city behind, with its towering skyscrapers and busy traffic, the landscape gradually begins to change. Narrow roads wind through old villages, across open fields, and along low mountains covered in green trees. The closer I get to the wall, the quieter the air becomes, as if this place still holds the breath of history. When I step onto the first stone stairs, the first feeling is often pure awe. Every step is a reminder that this structure was built under incredibly harsh conditions. As I continue walking along the ancient walls, I begin to understand the true scale of this monument. The wall is wide enough for several people to walk side by side. In some sections, horse-drawn carts once traveled along the top. Millions of workers, soldiers, and prisoners took part in building the Great Wall over many centuries. They worked under brutal conditions on steep mountain slopes and in the severe weather of northern China. Many of them never returned home. Leaving behind the ancient stone walls of the Great Wall, our journey through China continues toward a completely different landscape. If the Great Wall represents power and history, Tianmen Mountain offers something far more mysterious and almost surreal. Rising more than 1,500 meters above sea level, it has long been considered one of the most breathtaking natural landscapes in China. My journey begins in the center of Zhangye city. From here, visitors step onto the world's longest cable car route, stretching nearly 8 kilometers. As the cabin slowly lifts off the ground, the city begins to shrink below, and an endless panorama of towering mountains unfolds ahead. The cable car gently carries travelers across lush green forests, deep valleys, and dramatic vertical cliffs. But even after reaching near the summit, the journey is not over. You must continue along a pathway of 999 stone steps that lead toward the famous Gate of Heaven. These steps climb directly toward a massive natural stone arch, believed to be a symbolic connection between humanity and the sky. Standing beneath Tianmen Cave, the enormous natural arch makes you instantly feel how small humans truly are compared to nature. From this point, it becomes easy to understand why the landscapes of Zhangye have inspired so many fantastical scenes in cinema. What about you? Have you ever visited this place? Let us know in the comments below so hiderplanet can hear your story. After leaving the towering cliffs of Tianmen Mountain behind, the journey of exploring China led me to a place that felt entirely different. This is not just a single mountain, but a vast mountain range made up of 5 main peaks. Each peak has a relatively flat summit, creating the impression of small plateaus suspended high in the sky. For a very long time, it has been considered one of the 4 most important sacred Buddhist mountains in China. In Buddhist tradition, this place is believed to be the sacred land associated with Manjushri Bodhisattva, the symbol of wisdom and enlightenment. The air here remains cool throughout the year, very different from many other regions of China. In summer, when many places across the country are experiencing intense heat, Mount Wutai still maintains a pleasant climate thanks to its highest peak rising above 3,000 meters. Today, Mount Wutai is home to more than 50 Buddhist temples and monasteries, many of which have existed for over 1,000 years. Throughout history, this place has been an important center of religious practice, attracting monks, scholars, and devotees from across Asia. Its uniqueness lies not only in its architecture, but also in its very own spiritual atmosphere amidst unseen China. For visitors, the journey up the mountain is not just a trip, but a spiritual journey. Not because of massive structures or dramatic scenery, but because of the quiet and timeless atmosphere that has endured for thousands of years. After spending 3 days at Mount Wutai, I decided not to let the journey end there, so I continued on to Mount Huashan. Located in Zhangye province, this is one of the 5 sacred mountains of Taoism with a spiritual history spanning over 2,000 years. Unlike many other vast mountain ranges, Huashan stands out, with its nearly vertical cliffs making the entire mountain look like giant swords. Walk with me through these valleys and along the cliffs, and you will realize that life in the mountains has never been just about the scenery. The journey begins at the foot of the mountain early in the morning, with stone steps winding through ancient pine forests. The higher we go, the steeper and narrower the path becomes. Ancient stone steps are carved directly into the mountain wall, some sections almost completely vertical. Iron chains anchored into the rock centuries ago help climbers maintain their balance. Standing here, I finally understand why this route is considered one of the most dangerous hiking trails in the world. Below lies a chasm, hundreds of meters deep. Stepping onto these planks, one can clearly feel the strong mountain wind and the vast expanse below. Today, visitors must wear safety harnesses to cross this section, and every step brings a mix of fear and excitement. What about you? What do you think of this path? And would you dare to walk across it? After the sheer cliffs and perilous paths of Mount Huashan, the journey led me to a completely different landscape. From above, the lake looks like a ribbon of turquoise silk laid across a vast valley embraced by the Tianmen Mountains to the west. The scenery here carries a gentle beauty, a striking contrast to the harsh, rugged mountains of northern China. From the old town, just a few kilometers away, the vast surface of the lake suddenly opens before your eyes in the heart of unseen China. Standing by the shore, the first thing that captures your attention is the deep stillness of this place. This is not only a beautiful natural landscape, it is also the cultural and daily life center of the Bai people. For generations, the Bai community has lived around the lake, building small villages along the water and developing their own unique cultural traditions. Their houses are often built with white walls and grey tiled roofs, decorated with vibrant murals painted across the exterior walls. Along the lake shore, narrow paths weave through ancient villages and wide open fields. You can cycle around the lake, stopping at lakeside villages to enjoy tea or taste local dishes. Today, even as tourism has grown rapidly in Dali, Erhai Lake has preserved much of its natural charm. Ancient villages, lakeside roads, and green fields remain like pieces of a living landscape painting. When talking about China, how can one not mention Fanjingshan? And my journey continues. At an altitude of over 2,500 meters, Fanjingshan is frequently shrouded in fog, making the entire area look like an island floating in the sky. This area is part of a national nature reserve preserving a rare ancient ecosystem. Dense forests with centuries-old trees cover the mountain slopes, creating a rich habitat for many rare animal species. Believe it or not, the unique shape of the mountain and the structures located on its summit are remarkable. From afar, one can see a massive rock formation rising straight up into the sky, divided into two distinct peaks, each topped with a small temple. To reach it, one must climb thousands of stone steps along the cliff face. The path gradually narrows and slopes as you approach the summit, with ancient stone steps carved directly into the mountainside, winding and curving. As you ascend higher, the surrounding landscape begins to change, the dense forests below gradually disappearing into the mist. On clear days, the mountain peaks emerge from the white clouds, creating the feeling of standing in another world. Furthermore, a narrow staircase built around a vertical rock formation leads you to two temples located at the summit. The scenery here is both majestic and mysterious. As the clouds drift below, the two small temples seem to float in the sky.